The emergency alarm cut through the medical bay like a blade. Nurse Brell dropped the medication tray and ran toward the containment wing where something massive was destroying everything in sight. The other medical staff scattered as the roaring grew louder. It was a sound that reached into the brain and triggered every survival instinct evolution had programmed into prey species. Director Quilvin's forearms moved frantically across the control panel. His compound eyes reflected the chaos inside the sealed room, where a wounded Valkoran predator thrashed against the walls. Blood splattered across the white surfaces. The creature's crystalline bone ridges scraped deep gouges into the metal. Every impact shook the observation window. "Increase the sedative dosage," Quilvin commanded. His voice cracked despite his attempt at control. "Director, any stronger and we will kill him," Brell said. Her amphibian skin had gone pale with fear. "His injuries are too severe. The sedatives will stop his hearts." The Valkoran slammed into the containment barrier again. His 6 legs moved in a pattern of pure panic. The bioluminescent markings along his spine flashed violent red and orange. It was the color of rage and terror mixed together. Wraith had been brought in 3 hours ago by a wildlife rescue team. Poachers had attacked his family nest. They killed everyone else. Wraith barely escaped with deep lacerations across his flanks and multiple broken bones. The rescue team said he killed 2 of the poachers before collapsing. Now the medical staff could not get close enough to treat him. Every attempt ended with Wraith lunging at the barrier. His teeth were longer than Brell's forearm. His claws could tear through standard armor plating. The rescue team had used heavy tranquilizers just to get him onto the transport, but those were wearing off now. The pain and fear were taking over. Captain Horvin arrived with 6 security officers. The Crothan's armored body filled the doorway. His scaled hand rested on his plasma rifle. "We need to terminate the creature before it breaks containment. This is a medical station, not a combat zone." "Absolutely not," Quilvin said. All 4 of his hands gestured emphatically. "Valkorans are a protected species. There are only 40,000 left in the entire sector. I will not authorize killing him." "Then what do you suggest?" "My officers cannot enter that room. Your medical staff cannot enter that room. The creature is dying from his wounds, and we cannot help him." Horvin's voice carried the weight of hard logic. Brell watched Wraith through the window. The predator had backed into a corner. His breathing came in rapid gasps. One of his middle legs would not bear weight properly. Blood oozed from the energy weapon burns along his side. His eyes were wild with pain and confusion. She had studied Valkoran biology during her training. They were intelligent creatures who lived in tight family groups. Losing his entire pack and then waking up in a strange place surrounded by unknown species must have been overwhelming. "What about the human?" Brell asked quietly. Everyone turned to look at her. Quilvin's antennae twitched with confusion. "What human?" "The veterinarian. The one who works in the livestock wing. Dr. Foster. He treats the agricultural animals and the exotic pets some species keep." Brell's voice grew stronger as she spoke. "Humans are from a death world. They evolved alongside predators. Maybe you would know what to do." Horvin laughed. It was a harsh sound. "You want to send one small human against that monster? Humans may be tough, but they are not invincible. Do we have any other options?" Brell asked. She looked at Quilvin. "Director?" Quilvin watched Wraith slam weakly against the wall again. The predator was getting tired. Blood loss and exhaustion were taking their toll. Soon he would be too weak to fight, but also too weak to survive. The director's shoulders sagged. "Contact Dr. Foster." Immediately. 10 minutes later, Owen Foster walked into the observation area. He was shorter than most species on the station. His clothing smelled like the grain eaters he had been treating. There was some kind of feed dust on his sleeves. His hair was messy, and he had bags under his eyes from a long shift. He looked completely ordinary. Nothing about him suggested he could handle the nightmare thrashing in the containment room. Owen stopped at the window and studied Wraith for a long moment. His expression remained calm. Everyone else was tense, ready to run. The human just watched. "How long has he been like this?" Owen asked. "Since we brought him in," Quilvin said. 3 hours of constant aggression. We cannot sedate him further without risking his life. Owen nodded slowly. His eyes tracked Wraith's movements. He has a concussion. See how his head tilts slightly left? And the way his third and fourth legs are not coordinating properly suggests spinal damage. Those bone ridges along his back are cracked. That must be incredibly painful. We know all of this, Horvin said impatiently. We cannot treat him because we cannot get close to him. He is not aggressive, Owen said. He is terrified. Quilvin's antennae stood straight up. That creature killed 2 armed poachers. He's been trying to break through our containment for 3 hours. How is that not aggressive? Owen turned to face the director. His expression was patient, like a teacher explaining something simple. He is cornered, wounded, and surrounded by creatures he does not know. His entire family was just murdered in front of him. Every instinct he has is screaming that he is about to die. So yes, he is fighting. But he is fighting because he is scared, not because he wants to hurt anyone. Can you help him? Brell asked. Hope crept in her voice. Owen looked back at Wraith. The predator had stopped ramming the walls. He was panting in the corner, watching them through the glass. His bioluminescence had shifted slightly, still red, but with threads of amber running through it. Maybe, Owen said, but I need everyone out of this wing except one assistant. The more beings he can sense out here, the more threatened he feels. Too many smells, too many sounds, too much stimulation for an animal in pain. You cannot seriously expect us to leave you alone with that thing, Horvin said. Owen's eyes were steady. I have worked with wounded predators my entire career. Wolves, bears, big cats back on Earth. The principle is the same across species. Right now, Ray thinks we are the predators and he is the prey. We need to change that dynamic. Quilvin looked at the human, then at the dying Valkoran, then back at the human. Logic warred with desperation in his mind. Finally, he gestured to the other staff. Clear the wing. Nurse Burrell, you will assist Dr. Foster. Everyone else, observation room only. As the others filed out, Owen rolled up his sleeves. Burrell noticed his hands were scarred. Old injuries from working with dangerous animals. He moved to the containment door controls. What is your plan? Burrell asked nervously. Owen smiled. It was a quiet, confident expression. First rule of working with scare predators. You do not act like a threat. You act like you belong there. He opened the door and stepped inside. Wraith's eyes locked onto him immediately. The massive predator went absolutely still. His bioluminescence flared bright red. A low growl rumbled from deep in his chest. Owen sat down on the floor, cross-legged, 3 meters from the wounded creature. He did not look directly at Wraith. He just sat there, breathing calmly. Outside the window, Quilvin watched in disbelief. Horvin had his rifle raised, ready to shoot through the glass if needed. But inside the room, something was changing. Wraith's growl faded. His bioluminescence flickered. Red to amber, amber to something almost yellow. Owen began to speak in a low, steady voice. The words did not matter. The tone did. Calm, patient, unafraid. And very slowly, Wraith's breathing began to match the rhythm of the human's words. Owen had been sitting on the floor for 20 minutes. His legs were starting to cramp, but he did not move. Movement meant threat. Stillness meant safety. Wraith watched him from the corner with eyes that reflected the dim emergency lighting. The Valkoran's bioluminescence had shifted from violent red to cautious amber. Progress. Through the observation window, Quilvin stood with all 4 hands pressed against the glass. Nurse Brell remained beside him, ready to rush in if needed. Captain Horvin had finally lowered his weapon, though his fingers still hovered near the trigger. What was he doing? Horvin whispered. Waiting, Brell said. She had studied Earth predators in university. It was a strange hobby for a peaceful herbivore species, but she found them fascinating. Humans are persistence hunters. They can wait for days if needed. Inside the containment room, Owen shifted his weight slightly. Wraith's head came up immediately. The growl returned. Owen froze, then slowly relaxed back into stillness. The growl faded again. I know, Owen said quietly. His voice was barely above a whisper. I know it hurts. I know you were scared. I know you want to go home. Wraith's ears twitched. The Valkoran could not understand the words, but something in the tone made him tilt his head. His bioluminescence flickered. Owen reached into his pocket slowly. Wraith's muscles tensed. The predator's claws extended, scraping against the floor. Owen's hand emerged holding nothing more dangerous than a small water container. He took a drink, then set it down. With one finger, he pushed it across the smooth floor toward Wraith. The container slid to a stop halfway between them. Wraith stared at it. His nostrils flared, testing the air. Water. Clean water. He was desperately thirsty. The blood loss had dehydrated him. But taking the water meant moving closer to the unknown creature. Owen looked away, giving Wraith space to decide. He studied the walls like they were the most interesting thing in the room. Minutes passed. Then, with slow, painful movements, Wraith dragged himself forward. His injured legs trembled. He kept his eyes on Owen the entire time. When he reached the water, he drank in quick, desperate gulps. His bioluminescence shifted to amber yellow. Confusion mixed with cautious relief. Good, Owen said, still not looking directly at the predator. That's good. Brell's voice came through Owen's earpiece. Dr. Foster, his vital signs are stabilizing slightly. The water is helping. Owen acknowledged with a tiny nod. He was now less than 2 meters from a fully grown Valkoran apex predator. Wraith finished drinking and settled back slightly. He did not return to the corner. He stayed in the middle of the room, watching Owen with intense focus. I'm going to move now, Owen said. His voice remained calm and low. Just a little bit. Not toward you. Just changing position. He shifted to his knees, then slowly stood. Wraith tensed, but did not lunge. Owen turned his body sideways, making himself a smaller target. Non trattening. He took one step to the left. Wraith tracked the movement, but stayed still. Another step, then another. Owen was moving in a wide circle around the predator, never approaching directly, never making eye contact. What is he doing now? Quilvin asked. Showing he is not hunting, Brell explained. Direct approach is predatory behavior. Circling at a distance is, I think he is trying to act neutral. Not prey, not predator. Just another being in the space. Wraith watched Owen complete the circle. His head swiveled to follow the human's path. When Owen returned to his starting position, he sat down again. The whole exercise had taken 5 minutes and accomplished nothing obvious. But Wraith's bioluminescence was now predominantly yellow with only traces of amber. The red was gone. Owen settled back against the wall. He closed his eyes. To the observers, it looked like madness. Closing your eyes in front of an apex predator seemed suicidal. But Owen's breathing remained steady and calm. He was showing ultimate trust, the most vulnerable position possible. Wraith stared at the human. His instincts were confused. This creature was small, weak, vulnerable. It should be prey, but it acted like pack. It offered water. It moved without aggression. It showed trust. Pack members showed trust. 10 minutes passed with Owen's eyes closed. Then 15. Wraith's own exhaustion was overwhelming. The pain from his injuries pulsed with each heartbeat. He needed rest, needed safety. His eyes began to close despite his attempts to stay alert. When Owen opened his eyes again, Wraith was lying down. The predator's breathing had deepened into something close to sleep. His bioluminescence pulsed with slow, steady yellow light. Brell, Owen whispered into his earpiece. I'm going to try to examine him. Be ready with the medical kit, but stay outside unless I call you. Are you certain? Brell's voice was tight with worry. No, Owen admitted. But he is dying. We have to try. Owen stood slowly. Wraith's eyes opened immediately, but he did not rise. Just watched. Owen took one step forward, then another. He was speaking constantly now, maintaining that low, calm tone. Nonsense words. Soothing sounds. The kind of voice someone might use with a frightened child. 3 meters. 2 meters. 1 meter. Owen was close enough now to touch Wraith. Close enough for those jaws to close around his entire torso. The predator's breathing increased. His muscles tensed. But he did not attack. Owen knelt down beside Wraith's shoulder. His hand extended, palm down, fingers loose. The most non-threatening position possible. His hand made contact with one of Wraith's crystalline bone ridges that Wraith's entire body went rigid. Every muscle locked. Owen felt the heat radiating from the cracked ridge. Infection was setting in. The pain must be incredible. I know, Owen whispered. His hand stayed gentle against the ridge. I know it hurts. We're going to fix it. I promise. Outside, Quilvin was recording everything. Impossible, he muttered. Completely impossible. Owen's hand slowly traced the length of the damaged ridge. He could feel where the cracks were deepest. His other hand carefully probed the area around Wraith's ribs. The predator flinched but did not pull away. 3 ribs broken. Maybe 4. Owen moved lower, checking the legs. The spinal misalignment was obvious once he felt along the vertebrae. He needs surgery, Owen said into the earpiece. Multiple procedures. But I cannot do it alone, and I cannot do it out here. The surgical bay is prepared, Quilvin said. But how will you move him? Owen sat back on his heels. He looked at Wraith, and Wraith looked back. The predator's bioluminescence had shifted again. It was now pulsing with soft purple light. Brell gasped. She had never seen that color in any of the literature. Wraith, Owen said. He pointed toward the door. We need to go that way. Can you walk? Wraith's eyes followed the pointing finger. He looked back at Owen. Then, with tremendous effort, he pushed himself to his feet. His injured legs shook. He took one step toward the door, then another. Moving slowly, painfully, but moving, Owen walked beside him, one hand resting lightly on Wraith's shoulder. When the predator stumbled, Owen was there to steady him. When Wraith needed a rest, Owen stopped and waited. The door opened. Burrell stood in the corridor, medical kit in her trembling hands. Wraith saw her and growled softly. Owen's hand pressed gently against his neck. She is going to help, Owen said. She is safe. She is good. Wraith looked at Owen, then at Burrell, then back at Owen. The growl faded. He took another step forward. Together, the 3 of them moved down the corridor toward the surgical bay. A human, a nurse, and an apex predator who had learned to trust. The surgical bay's bright lights made Wraith flinch. Owen quickly moved to the controls and dimmed them to half power. The predator's bioluminescence flickered nervously between yellow and amber. He had not liked this room. Too many strange smells. Too much metal. Too much like the place where bad things happened. Easy, Owen murmured. His hand never left Wraith's shoulder. We need the light to help you, but I made it softer. See, Quilvin entered with 2 other medical staff. All 3 stopped when they saw Wraith standing freely in the middle of the room. The director's antennae twitched with disbelief. He walked here with some help, Owen said. But yes, now I need to work fast. He is exhausted and in severe pain. The adrenaline that has been keeping him moving is fading. Nurse Brell set up the equipment with practiced efficiency. Surgical tools appeared on hovering trays. Diagnostic scanners hummed to life. Wraith's ears flattened against his head at each new sound. His claws scraped the floor. Owen felt the muscles bunching under his hand. Too much, Owen said sharply. Everyone moved slower. Quieter. You are scaring him. One of the nurses, a tall crystalline being named Vorth, bristled. We're trying to save his life. He needs to tolerate some discomfort. He needs to stay calm, or he will go into shock. Owen countered. His voice was firm. Slow movements. Quiet voices. Explain what you are doing before you do it. Quilvin raised one hand. Dr. Foster is correct. We will follow his guidance. Everyone, slow down. The medical team adjusted their approach. Tools were placed down gently instead of clinked onto trays. People announced their movements. I'm approaching from the left side. Activating the scanner now. Bringing the bone stabilizer forward. Wraith's bioluminescence gradually shifted back to yellow. Still nervous, but not panicking. Owen guided him to lie down on the padded surgical platform. The predator resisted at first. His instinct screamed that lying down meant vulnerability. But Owen's hand on his neck and that calm, steady voice eventually convinced him to settle. Good, Owen said. That is so good, Wraith. You're doing great. Quillen moved closer with a diagnostic scanner. Wraith's eyes tracked him. A warning rumble started deep in his chest. Owen immediately shifted position, placing himself between Quilvin and Wraith's head. Hey, Owen said softly. Look at me. Just me. Wraith's eyes locked onto Owen's face. The rumble faded. Owen nodded to Quilvin, who carefully ran the scanner over Wraith's torso. The holographic display lit up with damage reports. 3 broken ribs, as Owen suspected. Severe bruising of the internal organs. The spinal misalignment was compressing nerves in the lower legs. The energy weapon burns are deep, Quilvin said. They have penetrated through several layers of tissue. Infection has begun. Can you treat it? Owen asked. Yes, but it will be painful. We need to clean the wounds and apply cellular regeneration foam. Then seal them with biomesh. Quilvin's compound eyes studied Wraith. He will need to remain still for at least 20 minutes. Owen looked at the predator. Wraith was already trembling with exhaustion. 20 minutes of painful treatment without sedation seemed impossible. But heavy sedation might kill him given the other injuries. I will keep him calm, Owen said. Do what you need to do. Burrell approached with the cleaning solution. Wraith's nostrils flared at the sharp chemical smell. His lips pulled back, showing all of his teeth. Owen sat down on the platform beside Wraith's head. He placed both hands on the predator's neck, just behind the jaw, a position of trust among pack animals on Earth. It seemed to work similarly for Valkyrans. This is going to hurt, Owen said honestly. I will not lie to you. It is going to hurt a lot, but then it will feel better. The pain will go away. Burrell applied the first swab of cleaning solution to the deepest laceration. Wraith's entire body went rigid. His claws gouged deep marks into the padding. A howl of pain tore from his throat. It was a sound that made everyone in the room instinctively step back, everyone except Owen. He pressed his forehead against Wraith's neck, just above where his hands rested. His voice dropped to barely a whisper, but it was constant, a steady stream of reassurance. He began to breathe in an exaggerated rhythm. Slow in, slow out, slow in, slow out. Wraith's breathing was rapid and panicked. But gradually, incredibly, it began to match Owen's rhythm. The predator's ancient instincts recognized what Owen was doing. Pack members synchronized their breathing. It was a sign of unity, of safety. Burrell continued working. The cleaning solution burned through the infected tissue. Wraith whimpered with each application, but he stopped thrashing. His bioluminescence pulsed rapidly, but it stayed yellow. Not the red of rage or the amber of fear. Just yellow. The color of pain acknowledged but endured. Applying the regeneration foam now, Quilvin said. He held the applicator carefully. When the foam touched the open wounds, Wraith's muscles bunched. He started to rise. Owen's hands tightened slightly on his neck. Stay, Owen said. It was not a command. It was a request. Please stay. You are so strong. You can do this. Wraith settled back down. His eyes were wide and wild, but he stayed. The foam expanded to fill the damaged tissue. It would stimulate rapid healing over the next few days. The sensation was deeply uncomfortable, like insects crawling under the skin. But it was working. Quilvin moved to the second laceration. Then the third 40 minutes had passed by the time all the major wounds were treated. Everyone had expected Wraith to break free, to attack, to flee. But he remained still. His entire body trembled with the effort of controlling his instincts. Owen never stopped touching him, never stopped that quiet, steady voice. The ribs need to be set, Quilvin said. This will be the worst part. We must realign them manually before applying the stabilizer. Owen took a deep breath. How bad? Extremely painful. Even with local pain blocks, he will feel it. Owen looked down at Wraith. The predator looked back. There was something in those eyes. Understanding maybe, or perhaps just complete exhaustion. But there was also trust. Against all logic, this wounded apex predator trusted the small human sitting beside him. Do it quickly, Owen said. Quilvin positioned his hands on Wraith's ribcage. Vor stood ready with the bone stabilizer. Burrell held the pain medication, though they all knew it would only help minimally. On the count of 3, Quilvin pushed. The sound of bone grinding against bone filled the room. That Wraith scream was unlike anything Owen had ever heard. It was rage and agony and terror all mixed into one sound. The predator lunged upward. His jaws snapped shut mere centimeters from Quilvin's head. Only Owen's weight across his neck stopped him from rising fully. "I am sorry," Owen said. His voice cracked. "I am so sorry. It is done. It is over." But it was not over. 2 more ribs needed setting. Quilvin worked as fast as possible. Each time, Wraith screamed. Each time he tried to rise. And each time, Owen held him down with nothing but his own body weight and that constant, gentle voice. When the last rib was set and the stabilizer activated, Wraith went completely limp. For one terrible moment, Owen thought he had died. But then he felt the breathing, shallow and rapid, but there. The predator had not died. He had simply reached the absolute limit of what he could endure. "Spinal adjustment next," Quilvin said quietly. He looked shaken. "But perhaps we should wait. Let him recover." "No," Owen said. He was trembling too. "If we stop now, he will never trust us to continue. We finish this." The spinal adjustment was somehow worse despite being quicker. The pressure on Wraith's nerves had been building for hours. When Quilvin manipulated the vertebrae back into alignment, the relief was immediate, but the process was excruciating. Wraith did not even have the energy to scream. He just shuddered. Finally, mercifully, it was finished. Quilvin stepped back. His forehand was shaking. "That is all we can do for now. The rest is healing time and medication." Owen slumped against Wraith's side. His shirt was soaked with sweat. The predator's bioluminescence had faded to barely a flicker. Dull yellow, almost gray. But it was there. He was alive. Brel approached with a blanket. She draped it carefully over Wraith's massive form. The predator's eyes opened slightly. They found Owen's face. There was something there. Recognition. Gratitude, maybe. Or maybe just acknowledgement that they had both survived something terrible together. Owen's hand found its place on Wraith's neck again. "You did so well," he whispered. "So incredibly well. Rest now. I will be right here." And as the medical bay settled into quiet monitoring, Wraith's breathing deepened into exhausted sleep. His bioluminescence gradually shifted from dull yellow to the softest, palest green anyone had ever seen. The color of safety. The color of peace. Outside the surgical bay, Quilvin reviewed the recordings with wonder. Pack bonding, the file said. Cross-species pack bonding. The first case ever documented between human and Valkoran. 3 days had passed since the surgery. Wraith's physical wounds were healing better than anyone expected. The cellular regeneration foam had worked perfectly. The broken ribs were knitting back together. Even the spinal damage showed significant improvement. But Wraith had a new problem that medicine could not fix. He would not eat. Owen stood in the recovery room, watching Nurse Brel place fresh food in front of the predator. It was high-grade protein synthesized specifically for Valkoran nutritional needs. It smelled correct. It looked correct. Wraith lifted his head, sniffed it, and then turned away without taking a single bite. "That is the 4th meal he has refused," Brel said. Her skin had lost some of its fear-pale color over the past days. Working closely with Wraith while Owen was present had shown her the predator was not mindlessly violent. But now worry replaced the fear. "If he does not eat soon, all of our work will be for nothing." Quilvin reviewed the medical charts with growing frustration. His body is healing, but he is losing weight. The lack of nutrition will slow recovery. Eventually, it will stop it entirely. He looked at Owen. "Can you convince him to eat?" Owen had tried everything he knew. He had hand-fed Wraith. He had warmed the food. He had added different scents and flavors. Nothing worked. The predator would sniff each offering with clear interest, but then refuse it. His bioluminescence stayed a dull yellow-green. Not quite content, not quite stressed. Just resigned. "There must be something wrong with the food," Bort suggested. "Perhaps the synthesis process changed something critical." "The food is identical to what wild Valkorans eat," Quilvin insisted. "I verified it myself against 3 different databases." Owen sat down on the floor next to Wraith. The predator immediately shifted closer, resting his head near Owen's leg. Over the past 3 days, Wraith had grown increasingly attached to the human. Whenever Owen left the room, the predator's bioluminescence would flash anxious amber. When Owen returned, it shifted back to calm yellow-green. "Tell me about Valkoran behavior in the wild," Owen said, Quilvin pulled up a holographic display. They are pack hunters, family groups of 6 to 12 individuals. They coordinate hunts using a combination of vocalizations and bioluminescent signals. The pack structure is complex, with clear hierarchies but also strong emotional bonds. Owen watched Wraith while listening. The predator's eyes were half closed, but his ears tracked every word Quilvin spoke. How do they eat? After a successful hunt, the pack shares the kill. Usually the most senior members eat first, followed by Quilvin stopped. His antennae stood straight up. Oh no, what? Brell asked. They share meals, Owen said quietly. He looked down at Wraith. You will not eat alone, will you? Your entire pack is dead. You're the last one. And eating alone means your pack is truly gone. Wraith's eyes opened fully. His bioluminescence pulsed once bright and sharp. Confirmation. That is incredibly complex emotional reasoning, Quilvin said. His voice was soft with awe. He is choosing to starve rather than accept that his family is gone. Owen scratched gently behind Wraith's ears. The predator leaned into the touch. Not anymore, he is not. 20 minutes later, Owen returned to the recovery room, carrying his own lunch. The medical staff watched through the observation window as he sat cross-legged next to Wraith. He spread out his food on one side. Wraith's untouched meal sat on the other side. Owen picked up one of his sandwiches and took a bite. He chewed slowly, obviously enjoying it. Then he picked up a piece of Wraith's protein and held it out. Your turn. Wraith stared at the food, then at Owen, then back at the food. Owen took another bite of his sandwich, then held out Wraith's food again. Come on, we eat together. That's how pack works, right? The predator's bioluminescence flickered, yellow to amber to something that might have been blue. Owen waited patiently. He took another bite of his food, then offered Wraith's again. Finally, hesitantly, Wraith leaned forward and took the meat from Owen's hand. He ate it slowly, as if testing whether this was real. Owen immediately took another bite of his own food, then offered more to Wraith. Back and forth. Human bite, Valkoran bite. Sharing the meal in the observation room. Brell had tears running down her amphibian face. He thinks the human is pack. The human is acting as pack, Quilvin corrected. Dr. Foster is intentionally triggering Wraith's social bonding instincts. Captain Horvin had joined them to watch. The Crothan's expression was unreadable behind his armored face. This is not sustainable. The human cannot spend every meal with the predator forever. But Owen continued the pattern. Breakfast, lunch, dinner. Always sitting beside Wraith. Always sharing the food. Never letting the predator eat alone. By the end of the week, Wraith had regained the weight he lost. His wounds were healing beautifully, and his bioluminescence had shifted to a steady, peaceful green whenever Owen was present. The problem came when Owen tried to leave. His regular duties in the livestock wing had been piling up. Other animals needed care. He could not stay with Wraith every moment. But whenever he stood to leave, Wraith's bioluminescence would flash anxious amber. The predator would follow him to the door, whining softly. He has separation anxiety, Brell observed, like a juvenile separated from parents. He is not a juvenile, Quilvin said. He is a fully grown apex predator who has lost everything he knew. Dr. Foster has become his entire social structure. Owen knew it was a problem. He also knew he had no good solution. Training Wraith to accept his absence would take time and patience. But more immediately, the station administrators were asking questions. How long would the Valkorans stay? What was the long-term plan? A predator this size could not live indefinitely in a medical bay. That night, Owen made a decision he knew was probably crazy. He brought a portable sleeping pad into the recovery room and set it up next to Wraith's resting area. The predator watched with interest as Owen arranged his sleeping space. I am staying tonight, Owen told him, and probably tomorrow night. We will figure out the rest as we go. Wraith's bioluminescence pulsed bright, happy green. He settled down next to Owen's sleeping pad, careful not to put any weight on the human, but close enough that Owen could feel his warmth. Within minutes, the predator was asleep. His breathing was deep and steady, the most relaxed he had been since arriving at the station. Owen lay awake for a while, staring at the ceiling. He was a veterinarian, not a miracle worker. He could not replace an entire pack. He could not give Wraith back his family. But he could give him something. Consistency. Presence. The knowledge that he was not alone. Through the observation window, Quilvin recorded everything. Subject shows clear pack bonding behavior with human caretaker. Emotional dependence has formed. Recommended course of action, unknown. The next morning, a message came through from the Galactic Wildlife Preservation Society. They had heard about the Valkoran survivor. They wanted to attempt reintroduction to a wild pack in a protected reserve. It was a good idea. The logical solution. Give Wraith back to his own species. Owen read the message 3 times. Then he looked at Wraith, who was watching him with those intelligent eyes. The predator's bioluminescence was curious yellow, wondering what the human was thinking. They want to send you to live with other Valkorans, Owen said. He did not know if Wraith understood the words, but he felt like he should say them anyway. That will be good for you. Better than staying here with me. Wraith tilted his head. His bioluminescence flickered. Owen sent a reply to the Wildlife Society. He would consider their proposal. He would discuss it with Wraith's medical team. But even as he wrote the professional, logical response, he felt something in his chest tighten that he had spent years working with wild animals. The goal was always to heal them and return them to nature. Getting attached was a mistake. Everyone knew that. You did not bond with the patients. You helped them and let them go. But when Wraith pressed against his side, bioluminescence pulsing content green, Owen knew it was already too late. He had broken his own rule. He had bonded with the patient. And judging by how Wraith followed him everywhere, refusing to let him out of sight for more than a few minutes, the feeling was entirely mutual. The emergency call came at 2 in the morning. Owen was already awake, sitting next to Wraith and reviewing medical files. The predator's recovery had progressed well enough that discussions about his future were becoming urgent. Owen had been avoiding those discussions. Dr. Foster, we need you in Docking Bay 7 immediately. Quilvin's voice crackled through the communicator. We have a situation. Owen stood. Wraith's head came up instantly, bioluminescence shifting to alert yellow. What kind of situation? A cargo vessel arrived with an injured Thorian hunter. The creature is extremely aggressive. We cannot get near enough to sedate it properly. It has already injured 2 crew members. Owen grabbed his medical bag. Wraith stood as well, clearly intending to follow. I will be there in 5 minutes. Dr. Foster, you should leave the Valkoran secured in the recovery room. Owen looked at Wraith. The predator's eyes were locked on him with complete focus. Over the past weeks, they had developed an understanding. Wraith had learned to read Owen's body language. Owen had learned to read Wraith's bioluminescence like a mood indicator. Right now, it was pulsing anxious yellow. Separation made him stressed. He comes with me, Owen said. It will be fine. The walk to the docking bay was tense. Wraith stayed close to Owen's side, his 6 legs moving in perfect coordination now that his injuries had healed. Station personnel scattered when they saw the massive predator coming. But Wraith paid them no attention. His focus was entirely on Owen. Docking Bay 7 was chaos. A Thorian hunter, roughly the size of an Earth grizzly bear, but with heavy armored plating, thrashed inside a damaged cargo container. The creature's roars echoed through the bay. 3 security officers had their weapons raised, but were clearly unsure what to do. The cargo ship's captain was arguing with Captain Horvin. I paid for transport, not for killing the animal, the captain shouted. It is worth more than your entire station. Quilvin saw Owen and rushed over. The Thorian was being transported to a breeding program. The cargo container was damaged during flight. The creature is terrified and violent. We managed to partially sedate it, but the dosage is wearing off. Owen studied the situation. The Thorian was bleeding from several wounds, probably sustained when the container broke. It was lashing out at anything that moved, driven by pain and fear. Owen had seen this before. Scared animals were dangerous animals. I need everyone to back up, Owen said. Give it space to calm down. We cannot just leave it loose in the docking bay, Horvin protested. I am not suggesting we leave it loose. I am suggesting we stop crowding it. Owen set down his medical bag and started walking slowly toward the damaged container. Wraith moved to follow. Owen held up one hand in a gesture they had practiced. Stay. The predator stopped, but his bioluminescence flashed agitated amber. He did not like Owen approaching danger alone. The Thorian saw Owen coming and charged. It was still partially sedated, so its movements were sluggish, but it was still incredibly dangerous. Owen stood his ground. At the last moment, he stepped aside smoothly. The Thorian barreled past him and crashed into a stack of cargo containers. Dr. Foster. Brell's voice was sharp with fear. She had arrived with additional medical supplies. Owen kept his eyes on the Thorian. The creature was disoriented from the impact. It shook its head and turned back toward Owen, growling. Owen spread his hands, showing he was unarmed. He spoke in that same low, calm voice he had used with Wraith. Soothing tones, non-threatening. The Thorian charged again. This time Owen did not move aside fast enough. The creature's shoulder clipped him and sent him sprawling. Pain shot through Owen's ribs. Definitely bruised, possibly cracked. He gasped for breath. That was when Wraith broke. The separation command was forgotten. His pack member was in danger. Nothing else mattered. The Valkoran's roar shook the entire docking bay. It was a sound of pure protective fury. Wraith launched himself across the space in 3 massive bounds. He placed himself directly between Owen and the Thorian. His bioluminescence blazed brilliant gold, a color none of the researchers had ever documented. His crystalline bone ridges stood fully erect, making him look even larger. The Thorian froze. It was powerful and aggressive, but it was not stupid. Wraith was clearly an apex predator in full protective mode. The Thorian's instinct screamed danger. It backed up a step, then another. Wraith did not attack. He stood his ground, displaying dominance through posture and presence. His message was clear. Back away from the pack member or face the consequences. The Thorian lowered its head in a submissive gesture and retreated to the far corner of the docking bay. It settled down, no longer aggressive, just scared and injured and now faced with a superior predator. Owen pushed himself up to sitting. His ribs protested sharply. Wraith. The Valkoran turned immediately. His bioluminescence shifted from protective gold to worried blue. He moved to Owen carefully, sniffing to check for injuries. When he smelled blood on Owen's shirt where the ribs were damaged, he made a low, concerned sound. I'm okay, Owen said. He put his hand on Wraith's neck. Thank you. Around them, the docking bay was silent. Every person present had just watched a Valkoran apex predator defend a human. Not as prey to be guarded, as pack to be protected. Quilvin was the first to speak. I have no words. Captain Horvin had lowered his weapon. The Valkoran just saved Dr. Foster's life. Owen used Wraith for support to stand. His ribs were definitely cracked, but he could move. Now we can help the Thorian. Brell, bring the medical kit. Slowly, with Wraith standing guard, the medical team was able to approach the Thorian. The creature remained calm, perhaps understanding that the massive Valkoran was there to keep everyone safe, not to hurt it. Owen worked quickly despite his own injury. The wounds were cleaned and treated. A proper sedative dosage was administered. Within 30 minutes, the Thorian was stabilized and resting comfortably. The cargo captain looked between Owen, Wraith, and the now peaceful Thorian. How did you do that? The Thorian was not the problem, Owen said. He was holding his ribs and trying not to show how much pain he was in. Fear was the problem. Take away the fear, and you can take away the aggression. Quilvin approached with a medical scanner. Dr. Foster, you need treatment. 2 ribs are cracked. Later, Owen said. First we need to secure the Thorian properly. I will handle that, Horvin said. His tone had changed. There was a new note of respect in it. You and your partner should get a medical. Owen started to object, but Wraith gently pushed his head under Owen's arm, supporting him. The message was clear. The human was hurt. The human needed care. Arguing was not allowed. Brell smiled. I think Wraith has made the decision for you. In the medical bay, while Quilvin treated Owen's ribs, the director finally asked the question everyone was thinking. What will you do with him? The Wildlife Society is still waiting for your answer about reintroduction. Owen looked at Wraith, who was lying beside the medical bed. The predator's eyes never left Owen's face. His bioluminescence pulsed steady, worried blue. "He saved my life tonight," Owen said quietly. "Yes, he did." Quilvin applied a healing wrap to Owen's torso. He displayed clear pack bonding behavior. Protection of pack members is instinctive for Valkyrans. "But Dr. Foster, you must understand what this means. Wraith has chosen you as his pack. All of you. Just you. I know. Sending him to a wild pack now would be cruel. He would not integrate. He would always be looking for you." Quilvin's antennae drooped. "But keeping him here permanently, that has its own challenges." Owen's hand found Wraith's head. The predator leaned into the touch. "What if he could work here? What if he could help with cases like tonight? You want to turn an apex predator into a medical assistant?" Quilvin's tone suggested he thought Owen's pain medication was affecting his judgment. "I want to give him purpose," Owen said. "He is intelligent, trainable, and clearly capable of controlling his instincts. With proper training, he can help calm other aggressive patients, create safe environments for treatment." Quilvin was quiet for a long moment. "The station council would never approve such a thing." "Then I will convince them," Owen said, "because I am not sending him away. We are packed now. That means something." Wraith's bioluminescence shifted to soft, peaceful green. If he could have smiled, Owen was certain he would have. The station council meeting room was designed to accommodate multiple species. It was neutral territory where decisions affecting the entire station were made. Owen sat in the human-sized chair with his ribs still tender from the Thorian incident 3 days ago. Wraith lay beside him, calm and attentive. The predator's presence made several council members visibly nervous. Station Administrator Kelvin, a tall Viridian with skin like polished wood, called the meeting to order. "Dr. Foster has requested permission to keep the Valkoran predator, designated as Wraith, as a permanent resident and working animal on this station. This is highly irregular. It is unprecedented," Captain Horvin added. He stood in his security uniform, arms crossed. "No station has ever kept an apex predator as anything other than a research subject or temporary patient." Owen had prepared for this. He brought up a holographic display showing recordings from the past weeks. Wraith has been living freely in the medical wing for 21 days. In that time, there have been 0 incidents of aggression towards staff or patients. He has assisted in calming 3 different aggressive animals, including the Thorian hunter. His presence has actually improved our success rate with difficult cases by 40%. Council member Thessa, an elderly Quilvin with faded chitin, leaned forward. "But he is bonded to you specifically, Dr. Foster. What happens when you are not present?" Nurse Brell has also developed a working relationship with Wraith, Owen said. Brell stood and gave a small wave. "She can handle basic care and monitoring when I am unavailable. We have also established clear communication signals that other staff members are learning. You are asking us to turn a medical facility into a training ground for dangerous wildlife," another council member said. Her name was Portia, and her species had been prey animals for millions of years. The fear in her voice was understandable. Owen kept his tone respectful but firm. "I'm asking you to recognize that Wraith is not just dangerous wildlife. He is intelligent, trainable, and capable of forming complex social bonds. He understands his role here. Watch." Owen stood and walked to the far side of the room. Wraith remained sitting exactly where he was. His bioluminescence flickered curious yellow, but he did not follow. Owen made a hand signal they had practiced. "Cool me." Wraith stood and walked over calmly. Another signal. "Stay." The predator sat immediately. "He responds to commands," Portia said. "But commands can be forgotten. Instincts cannot." "You're absolutely right," Owen agreed. "His instincts are powerful. But his strongest instinct right now is pack protection. This station, this medical bay, the people he sees every day, that is his pack. Harming pack members goes against everything in his nature." Quilvin had been invited to provide medical testimony. The director stood with all 4 hands gesturing as he spoke. "I was skeptical initially. I believed Dr. Foster's methods were too primitive, too emotional. But I have observed remarkable results. The human's approach to veterinary medicine incorporates psychological and social factors that our purely technical methods overlook. Wraith is proof that understanding an animal's emotional state is as important as understanding its physical health. What about when Dr. Foster eventually leaves the station? Administrator Kelvin asked. Humans typically serve 5-year contracts. What happens to Wraith then? Owen had thought about this. It was the question that kept him awake at night. If I leave, Wraith comes with me. He is my responsibility. My pack. You would take him to Earth. Horvin sounded incredulous. A Valkoran on a death world. Earth has successfully integrated countless species through its history, Owen said. We have wildlife preserves, rehabilitation centers, and a legal framework to support exotic animals. But honestly, I do not plan to leave. My work here has become more meaningful than anything I did before. The council members looked at each other. Silent communication passed between them. Administrator Kelvin finally spoke. We will hear from one more witness. Captain Horvin, you have worked closely with security concerns regarding this matter. What is your assessment? Horvin stood at attention. His armored face was unreadable. 3 weeks ago, I wanted to terminate Wraith as a safety threat. I believe keeping him alive was a mistake that would cost lives. I was wrong. He paused, and when he continued, his voice carried a weight of someone reconsidering their assumptions. I have watched Dr. Foster work with Wraith. I have watched Wraith choose to protect rather than attack, even when he had every opportunity to cause harm. I have also watched how other aggressive animals respond to Wraith's presence. They calm down. They feel safe. That is not something technology can replicate. So you support this proposal? Administrator Kelvin asked. I support a trial period, Horvin said. 6 months. Dr. Foster and Wraith work as a team under strict monitoring. If there are any incidents, any signs that Wraith poses a danger, we revisit this decision. But I believe they have earned the chance to prove this can work. The council deliberated for 20 minutes while Owen waited outside with Wraith. The Predator sensed Owen's nervousness. His bioluminescence pulsed calming green, and he pressed his head against Owen's leg. Burrell sat with them, her own nervousness showing in the way her skin color kept shifting. Whatever they decide, you did the right thing, Burrell said. You saved his life. You gave him hope. That matters. Owen scratched behind Wraith's ears. I just do not want to lose him. The door opened. Administrator Kelvin gestured them back inside. Owen and Wraith returned to their seats. The administrator looked tired but resolute. The council has reached a decision. By a vote of 7-4, we are approving a 6-month trial period for Wraith to remain on Station Harmony, 7 as a medical assistance animal. Dr. Foster will be his primary handler. Nurse Brell is approved as secondary handler. Monthly reports on behavior and effectiveness are required. Any incident of aggression will result in immediate termination of this arrangement. Owen felt his chest tighten with relief. Thank you. You will not regret this. See that we do not, Kelvin said. But there was a small smile on his wooden features. 6 months later, the trial period ended with a unanimous vote to make Wraith's status permanent. The reports had been exceptional. Wraith had assisted with 37 difficult cases. His presence reduced patient stress across all species. The medical bay's reputation had spread throughout the sector. Other stations were requesting consultations with Dr. Foster to learn his methods. Owen found himself training other veterinarians in behavioral medicine. The techniques he used with Wraith became a teaching framework. Understanding body language, reading emotional states, building trust before attempting treatment. It was changing how veterinary medicine worked across dozens of stations. But the greatest change was personal. Owen had come to Station Harmony, 7 expecting to treat livestock and spend his career in quiet anonymity. Instead, he had found purpose, partnership. Pat Point 1 year after Wraith's arrival, they were working in the medical bay when a new emergency came through. A ship had rescued a juvenile Valkoran from poachers. The young predator was terrified and aggressive. The rescue team could not get near him. Bring him to Bay 3, Owen said. Wraith and I will handle it. When the juvenile arrived, he was thrashing and screaming. His bioluminescence was pure red terror. He had been separated from his family, wounded, and traumatized. The rescue team backed away quickly, leaving Owen and Wraith to approach. Wraith moved forward slowly. His own bioluminescence shifted to calm, reassuring blue-green. He made soft vocalizations, not threatening, comforting. The juvenile watched him with wild eyes. Owen stayed back, letting Wraith take the lead. This was pack business. Wraith knew how to speak to another Valkoran in ways a human never could. Gradually, the juvenile's struggling slowed. His bioluminescence shifted from red to amber. Wraith lay down, making himself smaller and less threatening. The juvenile crept forward, sniffed, recognized another Valkoran, someone who understood. Owen approached slowly with medical supplies. The juvenile growled, but Wraith made a soft sound. A reassurance. The human is pack. The human helps. Trust him. 3 hours later, the juvenile was treated, fed, and sleeping peacefully. He was curled against Wraith's side. His bioluminescence had faded to soft green. Safe. Protected. Part of a pack again, even if it was a strange pack that included a human. Quilvin watched through the observation window, documenting everything. Remarkable. Wraith is teaching the juvenile to trust us. He is acting as a bridge between species. That is what pack does, Owen said. He sat nearby, monitoring both Valkorans. They protect. They teach. They help each other survive. The juvenile Valkoran would eventually be transferred to a proper rehabilitation facility with others of his kind. But the model had been established. Wraith had proven that apex predators could be partners rather than threats. That understanding could bridge even the widest divides between species. News of Owen and Wraith's work spread. Requests came from across the galaxy. Could they help with other difficult cases? Could they train other teams? The human and Valkoran partnership became famous. Not because it was impossible, but because it showed what was possible when someone looked past fear and saw potential instead. Late at night, after the medical bay had quieted, Owen would sit with Wraith and think about how strange life had become. A year ago, he had been called to calm a terrifying predator that everyone else had given up on. Now that predator was his closest companion, his partner. His packed out Wraith's bioluminescence pulsed peaceful green in the dim light. He was content, purposeful, no longer the last survivor of a destroyed family, but the beginning of something new. A bridge between species. Proof that connection could transcend evolution. That Owen's hand rested on Wraith's neck, feeling the warmth and the steady breathing. We did good work today. Wraith's response was a soft rumble of agreement. They had done good work. They would do more good work tomorrow. Together, as pack. The medical bay's motto had changed after Wraith became permanent. It now read, "Healing through understanding." Simple words, but they represented a fundamental shift in how the station approached not just medicine, but relationships between all species. Other stations were adopting similar programs. Other handlers were training with potentially dangerous animals, learning to read behavior and build trust instead of relying solely on restraints and sedation. The ripple effects of one human veterinarian's patients were spreading across the galaxy. But for Owen, the greatest success was simpler. It was the weight of Wraith's head resting against his leg while they both relaxed after a long day. It was the soft green bioluminescence that meant safety and contentment. It was knowing that the terrifying predator who once panicked an entire medical bay now helped heal others with his calm presence, that humanity's strength had never been about superior weapons or technology. It had always been about the ability to connect, to understand, to find common ground with beings who seemed completely different, to turn fear into trust and strangers into family. Owen Foster and Wraith were proof of that strength. A human from Earth and an apex predator from across the galaxy, working together as partners, as pack, as proof that sometimes the most important medical tool was not a scanner or a medication. Sometimes the most important tool was simply understanding.